Hello and welcome to the Shea Hates Everything Podcast, where we talk about video games, movies, comics, and other shit that matters. My name is Shea, and today I hate watching my daughter get shots.
And my name is Kyle, and today I hate most things.
What triggered that? Was it a you can't think of something for today, or is it really that terrible that it has to be everything?
I'm going back to work tomorrow.
I see. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Say no more.
Yeah. Well, why'd your daughter have to get shots?
I mean, because she's a human being and you need to get shots. So she got her, regular round of shots at 2 months. And then at 4 months, which she recently hit, she had to get her boosters. So they give her all the same shots again as, a reinforcement. And then she'll get them again at 6 months. And it just breaks my little heart to see her because she's so mad when it happens. Because, she doesn't experience pain like that. Because, all she does is just sit and lay down and eat and sleep and... she doesn't do stuff where she's going to, bump into a table, or, get a Charlie horse. That just doesn't happen with babies. So she experiences pain like that for, the first time. And it's so heartbreaking. Because she's just laying there, and then the shot happens, and then you just see her face, contort. What is this sensation? I really don't enjoy it. And it's really, really heartbreaking. And just wailing. Because she has to get, 4 shots all at once. So.
Jeez.
It's a rough go, but now we have a month and a half before she needs to go get the shots again, so it's bad. So we have a lot of news actually to talk about. I kind of went a little deeper on the news this time around and just got some additional things to talk about. So let's dive right in. Last weekend, you and Dad came to visit. I have been super busy with some work stuff. We have a big customer event this coming week where I'll be in Boston for a couple of days. And so I've just been super busy. So I haven't done a ton of stuff. I continue to play Destiny 2. I play video games for probably 2 hours a week at a maximum. And when I do, I am usually watching my daughter or she's asleep and I need to be able to stop at any point. So it's just really hard for me. I've said this a million times. It's really hard for me to dive into a new game or something that requires a lot of investment.
Right.
So Destiny 2 is very easy to just plug in and play. It continues to be a very frustrating experience in terms of the meta and progressing. I'm having fun just I'll go to a world and do some not adventures, the little
public
events? Public events, and I'll have little quests that are kill 30 Cabal guys on Mars, and I'll do that kind of shit, or I'll just go into the strikes playlist and play 2 or 3 strikes, and that's kind of all I do. And that part of it is totally fun. The shooting continues to be really good in Destiny, but the progression is totally borked. And a lot of it's because I fell off the game for so long. I have all these old quests. There's no indication of what my rewards are going to be in the old quests. So, I'll do a quest that'll take me, an hour to do, and then I'll get, a gun that has, 360 light. It is completely useless to me. So I just feel like I wasted my time. And even doing activities, there are lots of things that give you powerful gear now, which is great. I get it from the clan rewards, I get it from doing dailies, I get it from doing weeklies, and a lot of that stuff I can do solo. And I'll always get powerful gear that is above my current light level. But a lot of the other activities that don't give powerful gear, like the guaranteed advancement stuff, gives me useless shit. So, there's the big Triumphs event happening right now that they did before Forsaken, I believe, that they give you the highest level gear that is green, and you do a bunch of activities to level it up to blue and then to level it up to legendary. I know you, Cody, and I were doing a lot of that last time.
Yeah.
And they're doing that again. So I got all green level 700 gear, and that's when I was oh, level 700 is the max. I thought it was 600 because I got an exotic gun that dropped at 603 recently. And I was oh, so that must, the highest must be 615 or something. But fucking no. So already that exotic gun is way below all of my other levels. I'm not getting weapons that are...
Well, no, what they did with the Triumph stuff last time was they gave you access to the new level cap before the level cap became available. So I think 600 is still the current cap, but there is this particular set of 700 gear that you're leveling up so that you have really good 700 gear as soon as that cap is raised.
I think you are correct, but I think that the previous cap was 690. Because that's how they did it last time, and it was like 10 above. Like, it wasn't like a huge jump.
Okay.
I think that's what it is. But still, like, all this old shit that I have, like, I have a bunch of guns that I've been using because they were the best that I had that were like 569. And so now all that shit is super useless.
Right.
And so everything is really mix and matched. I don't know. The progression has been really frustrating because I never know what I'm going to get from stuff. I never know, or I didn't know what the max light level even was. So, and there's just so much stuff to do as well that it can be overwhelming. But considering I'm just popping in occasionally to play for an hour, giving me a lot of options at the end of the day is a positive, I guess. So that's kind of all I've been playing. Like I said, I'm going to Boston for a couple days, so I'm bringing my Switch. I'm going to plan on getting back to some Mario, and I might pick up another game on Switch. I'm not sure. I'm thinking about going ahead and buying Ape Out or something else on Switch. I was looking at Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, but that game is so multiplayer co-op focused that I'm not sure I'd get that much out of playing it by myself. So I don't know.
It also doesn't seem like it's very good. So
well, people have been saying it's very repetitive, but for people that like Marvel stuff and just want like a fun, action-y game, it's fine, which is all I would be looking for from it anyway, but it's mostly just like, if I'm going to be playing it solo, I'm not going to be getting the best experience, so I'm not sure that that's probably worth my time.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, it's all I've really been playing. I'll have something new on Switch, Cadence of Hyrule or Ape Out or something like that for next time once I'm in Boston. What have you been playing?
I broke down and got Resident Evil 4 on Switch.
So this is the 19th platform that you purchased this game on?
Basically. I'm not going to say it's like a bad version of the game. It's not the worst version of the game. I think the PlayStation 2 version is pretty terrible. But, like Switch controls just aren't good. Like, the analog stick is not good. So that makes it harder than it should be. But it's not like I haven't played the game 30 million times, so I'm still doing all right.
Right.
Yeah, that's fun. It's a good game. The Resident Evil 4 continues to be good. I played around with a couple different Minecraft mod packs, just kind of falling off of some and returning to others. And I beat Wolfenstein Youngblood. So I think last episode I had just kind of started it, but I've actually beaten it.
Nice. Story going some fun places?
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do for the next Wolfenstein game. Like, there's
interesting.
This one kind of starts. There's a large gap in between the last game and this one. Obviously,
yeah.
I mean, BJ didn't have daughters at the end of the last one, really. So pretty big gap. And they kind of just throw away a line somewhere where it's like, yeah, well, you know how like Hitler's dead and this other like blah blah blah. I was like, wait, what? He's dead? What? Who? Hitler's dead? What? When did that happen? So, I don't know. I've seen some theories about how, like, hey, maybe the next game, like, starts there and then jumps past Youngblood to where Youngblood kind of left off. Maybe it kind of jumps around a little bit. So that'll be interesting to see how they kind of handle that. Because we still don't have Mecha Hitler.
Right.
But that's really all I played, though.
Back to Minecraft really quick. Have you noticed, I feel like Minecraft is seeing a big resurgence. Like, I see a lot of people talking about Minecraft in ways that they haven't been in a couple of years.
Yeah, well, they're also, like, because, well, things happen in cycles, right? And I think a lot of popular Minecraft YouTubers kind of stepped away from it for a little while, and now they're kind of working their way back to it. Either, like, they miss it, or they just, like, their channels haven't been as big since they stepped away. And so I think since they've kind of returned to it, there's kind of a public consciousness that is kind of going with them. Because there have also, like, been a couple of new mod packs or maps and stuff that have come out that are kind of big. So that's helped.
Well, and they've been supporting the game with more frequent, larger releases, like Mojang has.
Right.
Because for a while, like, it really slumped and made some changes that were, like, really controversial, like adding the shield and changing the way that attacking works.
Right.
And, like, adding a lot of the underwater stuff that there wasn't really a lot of value in those underwater temples. Like, there wasn't really a big reason to do any of that.
Right.
And then I know they added some stuff to the end. And I think now, like, they've really blown out the underwater stuff with all the new creatures and seaweed or whatever.
Yeah,
and, like,
there's a lot
larger
of new
kingdoms
stuff.
underwater.
Yeah, and there's
stuff,
like
so.
wrecked ships and stuff.
Yeah, treasure hunting, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I had started a Minecraft world and played for a couple hours, and that was all I really did. And then I jumped on your Realms server and played for a little bit, and I just haven't gone back to it. Mostly just because I don't have time. Like, I just haven't been able to play. It's not from disinterest, but I'd be really curious to check out a lot of the new stuff. I do fear that it would be very overwhelming. Already jumping into your Realms server, I felt overwhelmed by all the new shit.
Yeah.
Because that's part of the charm of Minecraft, is it doesn't explain anything to you. And I was at a point where I knew everything there was to know in Minecraft, and so I was just playing it, and that was the fun. And now I'm back to the point of having to discover everything again, and it just feels weird. I'm like, I feel like I already did this, and now I'm doing it. It's actually kind of this similarly to how I'm feeling about Destiny. Like, I'm just overwhelmed with all the new stuff, and I don't know where to go or what to do or how to prioritize with it. So
yeah, I get that.
But it's still, Minecraft's it's a pretty good game.
Yeah, it's a decent game. I think some people would probably agree with that.
Yeah, some might call it like a top 5 game all time.
Maybe.
Actually, I don't know where I ranked it. Somewhere in that range, 5 or 6 or something. Check out my top 100 games of all time at SheaHatesEverything.com.
Plug.
Yeah. I mean, it's called the Shea Hates Everything Podcast. I'm allowed to mention my website.
I didn't say you weren't.
So I'm watching a lot of the same stuff. Continue to watch Smallville. I'm about halfway through season 4 now. Chloe, Clark's best friend, found out that Clark is Superman. And he didn't tell her. I know. It was a pretty big thing. Because Clark was going through this whole relationship with this girl who has superpowers, like she could teleport. And so she was a villain in an episode. Or I should say, he started dating her and found out that she could teleport, and so, like, he could be honest with her about, like, his superpowers, because she also has superpowers, and she was also hot, which was, like, really the priority for him, I'm sure.
Sure.
And then she, like, went completely psycho, and she was very, like, possessive of him, and therefore tried to kill Lana.
Still not seeing a problem.
Right. So then she got locked up in a mental institution, and then she got freed from the mental institution, because they said she was cured. Not of the teleportation, but of the being a psychopath. And she wore this like bracelet that stopped her from being able to teleport. So her and Clark kind of he's like, hey, I still can't trust you, but he's, is remembering all the stuff that he liked about her. So they kind of get back together, which causes big problems with Lana, obviously, because he's like, Clark, your new old girlfriend, you remember how she tried to murder me? Do you remember that? And Clark's like, yeah, but I like her. I can be myself with her.
She's like really hot.
Yeah. So that happens. And then this girl still is like she wants to run away because everybody hates her, and so she tries to convince Clark he won't run away. So she puts him under the influence of red kryptonite, which takes away all his inhibitions. So they run to Vegas and get married in Vegas, and there's a really weird scene of them like doing their nuptial stuff after they get married. Like, obviously it doesn't show them banging or anything, but like the foreplay part of it, but super powered, and it's like kind of weird. And so that happens. So he wakes up in red kryptonite. He's like, dude, you did this, like, you're manipulating me again. I can't trust you. You can't do this. And she's gonna leave, and then she doesn't. He decides that he's still in love with her, so they're still together. But then she still wants to run away. He won't. And so to try to get him, this is what happens. Someone is murdering or trying to murder all of the people that she tried to hurt in the past, and so everybody's saying, dude, she's doing it again. And she's like, no, Clark, I promise I'm not. And she isn't. It was some other guy. But Clark like starts to disbelieve her, and he's like, hey, you need to just go to the police, tell them the truth will set you free, etc. And she's like, I'll tell the police the truth if you tell the police the truth about yourself. And he's like, oh shit, this is a pickle, because you have a point. But he doesn't, obviously.
Right.
And so she goes instead and tells Chloe to, like, because he's like, her point is, if everybody knows that Clark has superpowers, he won't have to hide himself anymore, and they can be together. That's her, like, twisted logic. So she tells Chloe about it, and Chloe sees him, like, lift a car. And so the end of that episode is super messed up, because the murderer then murders that girl. That's how they're like, how do we write this chick out of the storyline? Let's kill her, I guess. And so Clark has a really, like, affecting moment where the dude, like, hangs her in a noose, and Clark finds her hung from a noose.
Jeez.
It's super dark. But so now Chloe knows Clark's secret, but Clark doesn't know that Chloe knows. And so it's this really awkward relationship, the tension that they keep building, where Chloe is very thinly veiled, like, Clark, you know you can tell me anything, right? And he's like, yeah. She's like, yeah, it must be hard to not feel like you can really be yourself. Wouldn't it be great if you had a friend that you could tell anything to? I could be that friend. And Clark's like, what the fuck are you talking about? So that's kind of the current conflict.
Smallville getting Bigville.
Yeah. And I'm still watching Venture Brothers. We finished Parks and Rec, and I was really bummed because then I was like, now what are we going to watch? And that finale is still probably my favorite series finale of all time. It's amazing. And so we just started watching The Office just as our background show. It was funny because Kelly and I, like, we finished it, and then we were like, okay, what are we going to watch now? And then I was like, I don't want to sit here and talk about it. So I just started The Office. She's like, whoa, you jumped right to, like, that's always the fallback plan. If we can't find something, then it's The Office. Like, you didn't even give us a chance to find something. I'm like, I'm out of patience. I'm not going to sit here and talk about what we want to watch. So we've watched like the whole first season of that, and I don't think I actually watched any of it. I think I was doing something else because that show is just that show's white noise, but in the best way possible.
Yeah, sometimes Kara and I will spend like 30 to 40 minutes talking about what we want to watch next, and then it's too late to start anything.
Yes, that happens to us all the time, and that's what I was trying to avoid by just pressing play on The Office. Kelly recently rewatched through all of Sherlock, and I was watching her watch some of it and was like, I would like to rewatch Sherlock. So we're going to do that slowly. Because we watched Stranger Things, obviously. That was our big show. We took a break from Sons of Anarchy to catch up on Stranger Things, and now neither of us are really have a lot of desire to go back to Sons of Anarchy. So we wanted another show that, like, we are invested in, but that we can watch while also watching Penny. Because it's really hard to watch a new show that you need to pay attention to when she's squirming and crying and playing.
Right.
So Sherlock is our show like that now. We only watched the first episode, but I mean, I've seen that show a couple of times now.
It's so good.
I'm just always blown away by just the acting quality and the writing and the cinematography.
Yeah.
How they use the graphics to kind of put you into Sherlock's mind and how he thinks.
Right.
That show is brilliant. And we had an interesting conversation. People love talking about, like, what are the greatest shows of all time, or like the greatest shows in the past 10 years. And I feel like Sherlock never comes up in that conversation, and it should.
Yeah.
Because everybody's
really
like,
should.
oh, Breaking Bad, Sopranos, Game of Thrones before the last season. And Sherlock never comes up in that conversation. And I always forget about it too, but I think it totally belongs in that that show is absolutely phenomenal. Still watching Gordon Ramsay Uncharted. Kelly's not super into it, so I'm not sure if we're going to continue watching it. It is a little boring. It's kind of slow.
Yeah, I watched that one episode when Dad and I were in town. It was okay. It was enjoyable.
Yeah, it's fine. It's a great show to watch when you are killing an hour.
The thing that was cracking me up is their use of, like, faux heavy metal music sometimes, where it's like, down at Gordon Ramsay cooking, like, it's really fucking stupid. It's really dumb.
Like they're trying to make it cool.
Yeah, like one of those, what is that? Oh, shoot. It's like Master for Man-at-Arms. The Man-at-Arms, where they forge, like, weapons from different movies and shows and stuff.
Okay.
But, like, they have, like, that's the kind of music they have, but it's, like, sparks and magma, like, molten iron and shit. But Gordon Ramsay's, like, slapping a fish with a rock. So.
Yes.
A little bit of
It's a weird show.
It is very weird.
It is, like, in concept, it is interesting and cool, and, like, I haven't really seen a show like that before, because it's very, like, let's learn about how these small villages in these really remote places in the world cook.
Yeah.
And the ingredients that they use that they find locally. Like, that's a really cool thing.
It is.
But something about the structure of it, or like maybe it's too focused on Gordon Ramsay's shtick.
It's definitely...
It just isn't like...
But it's not really his shtick anymore, though. It's just kind of Gordon Ramsay. Because he's not
Which maybe is the problem. He's being too normal. Maybe. So he's not as interesting.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, while you and Dad were here, we watched a lot of Comedians in Cars. That show is awesome.
Yeah.
It is. I would say it is very inconsistent. Like, some episodes are much better than others and more interesting. But just hearing Jerry Seinfeld talk to other comedians about comedy is always really fascinating.
Yeah.
And led us to watch Ricky Gervais' stand-up, which I thought was good. I'm a bit mixed on him sometimes. Like, sometimes I definitely think he pushes too far and too hard. Too far isn't fair. He pushes too hard and tries too hard to, like, be edgy, and that it makes it feel not as honest.
Yeah.
But the stand-up that we watched, I think it was called Humanity. Does that sound right?
Yeah, something like that.
That I thought was really good. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. And then we watched who's the other stand-up that we watched? His 3 mics thing?
Oh, shit, yeah. Oh, that I didn't love.
Yeah, you didn't like
mics.
that. I really appreciated that, though.
The concept of it was interesting, but it didn't... He was the writer on... He co-created the Chappelle Show.
Yeah.
I think his name's Neil something.
Yeah,
but I don't remember his name.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you weren't as big of a fan of it because you felt like it was kind of just him unburdening himself onto the audience. Yes. Which, for me, like, as someone who likes to have those kinds of conversations with people, I appreciated that.
Right.
But, I mean, I get why you might be like, well, that's not what I'm really here for.
Yeah, so basically the concept of it, and it's on Netflix, so folks can check it out. It's called Neil something 3 mics, and basically he has 3 microphones on stage. He does one-liners, emotional stuff, and regular stand-up. The regular stand-up I thought was awesome. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. The one-liners were really throwaway. I didn't really find any of them funny.
Yeah.
The emotional stuff was the meat of the show, and he kind of goes back and forth between the 3 mics.
I think the one-liners were kind of like a palate cleanser between the emotional stuff and the stand-up.
Maybe. But yeah, the emotional stuff just felt it was so personal and like non-applicable that I was... Because I think of something like Mike Birbiglia doing Sleepwalk with Me. That was a super personal story that had a narrative that I really, really invested in, the journey of it and learning more about his life. And maybe there was something that was different between Mike Birbiglia's stuff and this Neil guy's stuff. And maybe it was just like you said, it felt like it was more cathartic for him versus trying to make a statement or say something interesting about his past. It was more like, here's my shitty life. Look how shitty my life was. And that, I don't know, it felt selfish in a way. And I don't necessarily mean that in like a overly aggressively negative way, but it felt like it was about him. It wasn't about the audience, which is what stand-up should be. So, I don't know. That was my take.
Yeah.
We also watched another stand-up by another comedian that I don't remember. I don't remember his name.
Was it the Italian guy?
No.
Did we not watch that one?
We didn't. The guy that was on Comedians in Cars?
Right. Yeah,
they did little cutouts of his stand-up, which I actually didn't think were all that
funny. No.
But, yeah, he was the dude. He's kind of paunchy. He was like, he did a lot of really, like, dark, aggressive humor.
Oh, yes.
We didn't expect it to be like that.
Yeah.
Damn, what was his name? Segura? Fred? Frank? Segura? Ted? Todd?
Aaron? Michael?
Jonathan? Segura's his last name. Comedian.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Tom Segura.
Tom Segura. Yeah, he was really funny.
Yes, I thought that was very funny. And he has a bunch of stand-ups on Netflix. I did not anticipate it being as racy as it was.
Right.
Because he just looks like a paunchy dad guy. Like, I figured it'd be very, like, not necessarily as family friendly as, like, Jim Gaffigan, but, like, that style, just, like, kind of straightforward, forgettable comedy.
Came out swinging a little bit.
Yeah, it was a lot of really aggressive, like, ooh, shit kind of bits. Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah.
On the opposite side of the spectrum, we watched a lot of Queer Eye as well.
Yeah.
And some of the episodes in the new season, man, like, some of the people, I just didn't see them, like, embracing the change.
Right. Yeah. I felt that way.
There was
too.
a lady, like a black lady that runs this like dance.
Yeah, that
Rhythmic group?
episode, I really didn't get much from her until like the very end. I didn't really get much from her.
She was just really defensive about everything. Like, and then when they like had to sit down with her and her daughters, where her daughters were like, "Tell us you love us. Like, we don't feel loved by you." And she was still resistant.
Yeah, but like instead of like taking that to heart or being like, I should do that more. She was like, "Oh, I thought I was doing that with my actions."
Yes.
And it was
I wrote down the quote from her at the end. She's like, "I learned that my daughters require more love from me." And that's such a shitty way to put that.
Right.
Because that's like saying, like, oh, I guess I have to do this because my daughters have to have it.
Right.
Not like I'm their mother. I should show them that I love them and tell them that I love them. That was I was not a fan of that moment.
No.
But on the other side of the spectrum, there was the episode with the old dude.
Oh, man.
Who had the dog that had passed away,
dog.
And they got him a new dog.
And then
he named him Fab 5.
Oh, my heart.
That was... Yes, that obviously hit me in a lot of other ways with,
and he looked so good after they like did his hair and he looked so good.
Yeah. That show is still amazing. It was just particularly that episode with that woman where I was like, she is not buying into this. She's not accepting responsibility for her actions. And that annoyed me because so many people deserve this kind of treatment and like self-love that they provide, and I just feel like she wasn't thankful for it in the way that she should have been.
Right.
And then So You Think You Can Dance. So I've had plenty of rants about how this season of So You Think You Can Dance has been frustrating. Just the way that they've shown the auditions and then cut the people immediately after and wasting our time on dancers that aren't good enough. We are down to the final 10. So from now on, it's going to be on the actual show where people will be voted off week to week. The audience votes. They do all these routines. They are down to 5 guys and 5 girls. They had 10 guys, 10 girls that they trimmed down to 5 of each. Of those 10, Kelly and I agreed with 2 of the 5 girls and 3 of the 5 guys. We vehemently disagreed with half of their selections. And a lot of the selections were done. It seemed like the judges had already made up their minds before the dancers did like their final routines. Because there was one particular instance of, I think she was a ballroom dancer that did a hip hop routine. And after she did her hip hop routine, they were almost literally saying, you could not have done a better job. Like this was as close to perfect as it could have been to get you on the show. And then they didn't put her on the show. So it's like they had already made up their mind before she performed. And there were other dancers that we're really disappointed in this. You didn't maximize your opportunity here. I don't know. I was a yes on you and now I'm not so sure. And then those people made it on the show. So it's like these last dances didn't matter. And it was super frustrating, bro. So now we're on the live shows and we only like half the dancers. I want to try to have an open mind because, to be fair, a lot of the final 10 dancers were people we never even saw before this last episode. Even though this is like the 8th episode.
Crazy to me.
It is absolutely stupid and crazy, yes. Why would they, why? It's so frustrating. Like, they get you invested in characters, in people that have no chance, and then ignore people that could make it on the show. Very frustrating. So, and actually, one of the girl dancers that we thought deserved to make it, we don't like. So really only 4 of the dancers are ones we're rooting for out of 10. So hopefully some folks change our minds. We want to have an open mind, let people grow on the show. But it's not looking great. And just the overall talent is far lower than previous seasons. Like there are only like I can think of one dancer who I think is like absolutely incredible. Two dancers who are a guy and a girl, who are amazing. But usually there are like 6 people on the show that are all like, holy crap, they have a chance of winning. And there are at least 3 dancers that I like when they got selected, I'm like, oh, well, they're going to get cut the first episode. Like they suck. They're easily the worst. And then someone else, and I'm like, oh, this person's even worse than that person. They're going to get cut. So there are like 3 dancers that all should be cut in the first episode. Jeez. So we'll see how it goes.
Do they ever have people come back on the show?
No. Like, that get cut, and then they get to come back into the competition?
No, like, in a new season.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like if you don't make it onto the live shows, you can come back and audition again. And actually, one of the girl who is my favorite, she made it to the final cut last season. So she was like the last person cut before the show, and she made it onto the show this time. So she's the one I'm rooting for. There was another girl who also got really close, and a guy last season who got really close, who both of them made it to the final cut last season and the final cut this season, and they both got cut. And it was a big bummer because I wanted both of them to make it because they are better than the other people that made it on. So a lot of it is political,
right,
unfortunately, to make sure that, like, oh, we have to make sure we have a girl that does hip-hop because not enough girls do hip-hop, and so the girl that does hip-hop that made it on the show sucks. And, oh, we need to make sure we have a guy on here who does tap dancing because we need to make sure tap dance is represented, and the guy that made it on that's the tap dancer is a phenomenal tap dancer, but he's terrible at everything else.
Okay.
So he's not going to make it on. He also had a whole thing where he competed last season. He made it pretty far before the show. He came out on live television. And so he became like well known because of that. And he's like 18. And so I think it kind of messed him up in the head where everything he does now is like trying to be edgy and emotional, and it feels very forced.
Yikes.
And so we are really annoyed with him. He's like, he's a teenage, fresh out of the closet, like where he has to go overboard on all of the emotional stuff because like he feels like he's like, oh, he has to overcompensate now because he was so sheltered before. And like, I can't blame the kid for that. Like I did not have that experience. I'm not going to judge him for that, but like, I don't care about that. I don't care about
so
him.
Nice.
I should say I don't care about him on a dance competition show.
Sure.
Like, do a reality series, bro. Like, yeah. And then finally, did watch something new. So there's a new show on Amazon that is called The Boys, which I believe is based on a comic book series, but it's kind of like a satirical take on superhero shit. I only watched the first episode because I have a child. And it took me 2.5 hours to watch the 1 hour pilot of the show, which should give you an indication of how easy it is to watch stuff when I'm being a solo dad on Saturdays.
Yeah.
But basically the concept is like superheroes are real. They're a small, like, they're like 200 some in the United States. But they also make movies and shit. So it's like if the Avengers were real, but they also had a film franchise about themselves and like merchandising and stuff. So that's kind of like a satirical take on it. It's very dark. Holy shit, is it dark. Someone gets exploded in slow motion in like the first 10 minutes. There is implied rape in a scene.
Yikes.
One of the superheroes, his name is Translucent, and he can go invisible, and they make a joke about how translucency is not the same as being invisible, so you have a stupid name. But because his skin can become invisible, so he has to be naked in order to be fully invisible. So he likes to hide in the bathroom and watch women go to the bathroom naked.
Wow.
In the bathroom. So yeah, it's a pretty dark, edgy, weird show. But I'm really enjoying it so far. I am fascinated. I think the first season is only 8 episodes, so it won't. Although if they're all an hour long, that's still a big time commitment. But the main character is not a superpowered dude, but they keep talking about how he's this like technological genius. Like he works at like a Radio Shack type store. He's like really good at all the techie shit. And something happens that makes him hate these superheroes. And also the superheroes are also bad people, as I have proven. One of the superheroes rapes a girl, or at least like kind of forces her to suck his dick. It's implied off screen. And then there's the superhero that watches women pee naked in the bathroom. And then the main guy murders someone at the end of the first episode, or murders a couple people, including a child. So there's like, clearly these people are all fucking fucked. And I think they're building the main character to become a supervillain because he hates them now and he's like trying to take them down.
But is he really a supervillain?
Exactly. He's an antagonist for the protagonist heroes, but I think like they're making, I mean, and I could be wrong. He could just end up being a dude.
This reminds me a lot. This reminds me a lot of the Brandon Sanderson Calamity books that I was talking about.
Sure.
How like all those people
the
get
bad
the powers,
guy is the
but
protagonist.
Then they're all like really terrible people and like
Right.
use their powers for their own gain and stuff.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So it's
that's
kind of like that.
The Boys,
The Boys.
and that's on Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, I had heard about it and saw like a trailer for it, but a lot of people have been talking about it, and it's like, I think it's already Amazon's most watched show, and it's only been out for 2 weeks.
Wow.
So people are like really, really hyping it up.
Okay.
And it's good. I mean, again, I'm only in the first episode, but what they have been setting up, there are a couple of mysteries going on that I'm really interested to see how they play out. Carl Urban is in it. He played Éomer in Lord of the Rings. He was in the new Judge Dredd movie. He's been around, but he's good. He plays like a British. He says he's an FBI agent, but he clearly isn't, and he's working with the main character guy, Huey, which is a really good name for a tall, lanky, nerdy white dude.
Yeah.
But their relationship is really fun. Yeah, I'm really interested to see where it goes. So, not a lot of new stuff, but a lot of stuff I've been watching because that's all I can do, basically.
Yeah.
So, tell me about all the horror movies you've seen.
Well,
Because
all right.
I'm sure there are some.
So, yeah, there's like 4 or 5 horror movies that I watched, but I watched a total of 12 movies.
That's
The
a lot
first
in 2 weeks.
The first of which, The Crimes of Grindelwald. I can tell you that movie was a crime, but not of Grindelwald.
I keep forgetting that movie exists.
It is horrible and
Like,
terrible and awful.
Fantastic Beasts was like mediocre and forgettable. Crimes
Yeah.
of Grindelwald was actively bad. Like
It's
I
a
wanted to
little
not
insulting.
remember it.
Right. I
It's
want it to
terrible.
not exist anymore.
Yeah,
I want it to not have happened.
I'm gonna have to see the rest of them just because it's a Harry Potter universe
Right.
film, but I'm certainly not gonna see them in theaters. I'm not gonna
No.
seek them out. It'll be like you watching Crimes of Grindelwald, where like a year later I'll watch it, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm bored. Oh, I forgot. I watched Goblet of Fire yesterday.
Oh, okay.
As well. That was my Saturday movie.
Nice.
It is still the worst of those movies by a significant order of magnitude.
But
It
it's still
pisses
fun.
because it's my favorite book. No, it's totally still fun. But it's my favorite of the books. It is easily the worst movie. Horribly directed. And the dude that plays Cedric Diggory's dad is probably the worst actor, the worst performance in any of those movies, including the child actors. He is so awful. When he comes back from the cemetery at the end, when Cedric's dead, he comes down, he's like, my boy! It's so terrible.
I don't know. Daniel Radcliffe trying to cry over
This is worse.
a vampire's
'Cause
body.
those things happen in the same moment.
I know.
And his dad's performance is worse than Daniel Radcliffe's.
Nope.
Trust me, Kyle. I just
No.
watched it yesterday.
No.
And I know
Not
it's worse
possible.
because Cedric's dad, he's an adult actor. Daniel Radcliffe is still like 17 in that movie. And this is an adult professional actor. My boy! It's so awful. So anyway, Crimes of Grindelwald.
It's
that
bad,
movie is
though.
garbage.
Like, you should people should watch it because it's Harry Potter, but you're not going to like it. And then we watched The Nun, because this is like another movie that's in the Conjuring horror-verse, the
Yep.
James Wan horror-verse.
James Wan-verse.
Yeah. It was actually pretty scary. That was a pretty good one. They did, like, that was a decent one. And
How
it,
is this?
And it makes it, like, it provides a little context for, like, some of the creepiness from the second Conjuring movie where the nun kind of first appears.
Okay, that was my
so
question.
this
It
is
was
like an
where
origin
the
story.
nun comes in. Okay,
Yeah, the
got
nun
it.
is an origin story for something that is plaguing the lead lady in Conjuring 2.
Okay.
And then we watched Kingdom of Heaven with Orlando Bloom and Liam Neeson.
One of the more underrated Ridley Scott joints.
It was super good. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed it.
I don't think it's incredible. Like, it's not the same level as, like, Gladiator, like his other movies of that style that he's done, but it's perfectly good.
Yeah. Another movie that perhaps I think he had a hand in was the Robin Hood 2010 with Russell Crowe.
I see. I don't know if that was Ridley Scott or not.
It said it was like the director,
Maybe his production company.
or like the director of. I think it said the director of Gladiator. I think. I just remember like vaguely the title card stuff saying something
Looking
like
it
that.
up. Yes, directed by Ridley Scott.
Okay. That was also way better than it should have been.
I agree. It was not...
It wasn't
I
really
thought it was
good.
fine. Yes,
Yeah,
I thought it was fine.
Better than it should have been.
Yes, it looked like it was going to be bad. Absolutely.
Right. But like there were a lot of really enjoyable moments, and then there was what's her face was in it, and she was really good. She in Lord of the Rings, she plays
Kate Blanchett.
Yes, Kate Blanchett. Yep, she was
Yeah,
actually really
plays
good in that too.
Marion, right?
Yeah. So that was like a fun take on it. So Kingdom of Heaven and Robin Hood 2010, both super solid Ridley Scott joints. I watched also the 2018 Robin Hood movie with Taron Egerton and Jamie Foxx.
That looked really bad.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
It was
that was
really
a huge
bad.
flop,
Yeah.
unsurprisingly.
The villain has a lisp.
Awesome.
And the whole movie is very clearly a metaphor for, like, the evil of totalitarianism and capitalism and all the other isms you could possibly throw a hashtag at in 2019. This movie was a very clear metaphor for, but it was not very good. There's also like a, hey, war in Afghanistan is bad kind of a sequence where
Right.
like he gets drafted. Like, he's a young lord, and he gets drafted into the military and, like, goes to fight in Arabia, but, like, the color tone and their, like, uniforms and stuff, it's very U.S. soldier in Iraq.
Okay.
It's... Yep. It's really fucking stupid.
Unnecessary.
Extremely.
For a
And
movie that takes place in England.
And, like, is not self-reverential at all.
Right.
Like, it is irreverent, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yikes. Don't watch that one. Watch the other one. Also, watch the Kevin Costner one, because that Robin Hood is also
That movie
very
is
good,
great.
but for other
It is also
reasons.
terrible.
Yes.
I know that is our mom's one of her favorite movies,
Yeah.
and so we watched
her favorite
a ton.
quote. Do you remember her favorite quote?
I'll cut your eye out with a heart out with a spoon. Alan Rickman, one of Alan Rickman's all-time greatest performances. Though,
Oh, yeah.
To be fair,
That
He's
witch
so good.
still scares me.
Yeah.
She was creepy looking. I watched Sinister 1 and 2.
All right. Is this James Wan verse or is this different?
No, this is different. I don't remember much about them. I know. So in Sinister 1, it's something about, like, there's the Boogle. Boogle is the name of the demon. And
Boogle?
Boogle.
That is not a very scary name.
And, like, the kids call him Mr. Boogie. And so the whole movie I'm like, oh, Mr. Boogie coming. Mr. Boogie gonna get you. It was really dumb. And then the second movie was, like, unbelievably terrible. Like, the first movie at least had, like, some redeeming qualities to it. Like, the end was really stupid, and kind of the answer to the mystery was really dumb, but some of the performances were okay. But then the one character that they let survive, who's, like, the worst actor in the movie, he's now the lead actor in the second movie, and it's like this really loose tie. It's very bad. It's very, very bad. Yeah, that's Sinister 1 and 2. And then my wife and I also watched Annabelle and then Annabelle Creation, which are both in the James Wan horrorverse.
Right.
And Annabelle
I'm guessing
Creation,
Annabelle Creation is a prequel
to the first Annabelle. Yeah, so I had read online that Creation was kind of like a retcon for the events of Annabelle. That's not true. That's not true at all.
Yeah,
So,
I remember you brought that up.
Yeah.
In the last podcast, I think.
Like, that's not true at all. Like, the first Annabelle was okay. It was all right. But Annabelle Creation was actually pretty darn good. And it ties directly into the events in kind of a clever way of the first Annabelle. So I think both of those are pretty okay, solid movies. So far, the James Waniverse is doing okay. I also watched Deadpool 2.
That's a good movie.
It was a really good movie.
Not as good as the first, but that's kind of a hard thing to, like, do
Yeah.
a sequel to.
Yeah.
Because it's such a a unique kind of concept.
Right, and it's been long enough that I can spoil it now. So the after credits sequence where the what's her face, the teenage rocket power
Negasonic warhead or whatever.
Yeah, she like fixes the time travel device and gives it to him, and then he like goes back in time. There are like 5 different after credits, post credit sequences, and so like the first one is he goes. Well, I don't remember the order that they happened in, but he goes and he saves Peter, the member of the X-Force who has no powers, just like the average Joe dude. He goes and saves Peter's life, but not the lives of anyone else on the X-Force. And then he goes back and like saves his wife, obviously. But like, apparently that's canon. Apparently he actually did go back in time and save his wife in the post-credit sequence, undoing like the whole movie. Which is fucking amazing.
That is amazing. But it is also worth mentioning that Deadpool might no longer exist. Like, they might not make more Deadpool, which we have a news story about that as well. But, like, yes.
That's a lot of fun.
Sure, but they're going to undo all that stuff anyway.
Yeah. And then the other post-credit sequences were... where Ryan Reynolds sitting down with a script for Green Lantern, and then Deadpool shoots him in the back of the head.
Right.
Which is really good. And then also he goes back in time into the whatever that Wolverine movie was, and there's that version
X-Men
of Ryan,
Origins.
X-Men Origins,
yes.
And there's that version of Deadpool that's horrible, and he shoots him in the head, and like shoots his body like 8 times.
Poor Ryan Reynolds, man. He wanted to be in the like superhero stuff. He cared so much about that stuff, and then he played this like awful bastardized version of Weapon X.
Yeah.
And then was able to play the actual Deadpool in that next movie, whatever it was. Or no, maybe it was the same movie where he played Deadpool, where he was like a ninja sword guy who then became Weapon X at the end, that like awful faceless thing.
Yeah.
And he only did that because they promised him he'd be able to do his own solo movie, which is, never happened. And then he made this one happen on its own. And then the Green Lantern thing, which that movie was hot garbage. Not because of him. He was a great Hal Jordan.
It was just a bad movie.
Yes, just like that poor guy. Love Ryan Reynolds. So glad that he like came back into the forefront from the 90s when he was popular.
That movie, Deadpool 2, was very 2000s.
Good. Yeah, great movie.
And then I watched 2 other movies for my total of 12. I watched The Green Zone with Matt Damon. And that movie, I figured it was going to be pretty political because it was about like finding WMDs in Afghanistan. And then I realized that, they're literally just coming out and saying that, hey, the U.S. government fabricated all this shit. Like, look how fucked up we are.
I fucking hated that movie.
That's that whole movie.
That movie, like, actually pissed me off. It was so, like, and I hate to use the phrase, but liberal propaganda bullshit. Like, it was like that Vice movie that you saw, where it's just like, let's make a whole movie shitting on Republicans for 2 hours, arbitrarily with no fact behind it, like completely slanderous. That's what Green Zone. And I lost a significant amount of respect for Matt Damon.
Yeah.
After
the
seeing
worst,
Green
best
Zone.
part of that movie though is that it's actually kind of a decent movie. Like, it's like a decent one of those movies, but like the content, I was like, what the hell are we doing here, guys? What are we doing?
I saw it in theaters. I think I went with Dad randomly. Like, we were just hanging out and went to see a movie.
Dad didn't like that.
Yeah, and that movie pissed me off. So I couldn't tell you what even the actual story or like what the quality, because it was. I mean, when did that movie come out? Like the mid 2000s.
Yeah, it's pretty old.
Yeah, that movie. Oh, I forgot about that movie.
I was like watching, just kind of in awe of the audacity.
Yes.
I was like,
because I love Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Like, Matt Damon's one of those actors I will see any movie that he is in.
Oh yeah.
And I fucking hated that movie.
And then the last movie I watched was The Red Sea Diving Resort with Chris Evans. Just came out
new
on Netflix.
on Netflix. Yeah.
It was really good. It's about it's based on a true story, so it's obviously like highly dramatized. But it's basically they're this gentleman who is Jewish is working with the Israeli government to go into it's in Sudan, but they're refugees from somewhere else. Just like refugees from Africa, I think, that are being killed for being Jewish, and just because like the people, there's like a genocide going on in Africa, and they're fleeing to Sudan But the whole deal is like Sudan is getting like stipends from the United Nations based on how many refugees they have, and so like they're really just doing it for the money, and so like they're treating the refugees poorly. They're not giving them food or water, and their conditions of living are terrible. So they want to flee Sudan. So this gentleman is helping these African Jews to get to Jerusalem. So he's like smuggling them out. He's working with the Israeli government, and so like they come up with this idea to use this abandoned hotel resort in the Sudan as like a front for having like a team of people there that are getting people out by sea, because like Sudan is like landlocked, but except for like this one part of it or whatever that the resort is on, and so it's just a lot of like kind of how they go about that, and you know the dangers of it, and like almost being discovered and then being discovered, and then there's like one final big thing. But it was really good. It was really enjoyable. Chris Evans' character is kind of like a dick, but then he comes around a bit towards the end. And like I think his supporting actors are okay. Discount Jennifer Lawrence is in it.
Is that an actual actress, or just because she looks a little bit like Jennifer Lawrence?
No, she's Discount Jennifer Lawrence. She looks a lot like Jennifer Lawrence, but I assume you don't have to pay her as much.
Like, but has she been in things that Jennifer Lawrence has been in?
No.
Oh.
She just looks...
Just in this movie.
She's just like, hey, you know what would be awesome if we had J-Law? We can't really afford it, but this chick looks a lot like her. And she's good. And she's good. I forget what her name is.
Haley Bennett?
Yeah.
She's great. She's a great actress.
Yeah,
she was
that's what I'm saying.
Gone
She's
Girl.
really good.
Yeah. Girl on the Train, rather, not Gone Girl.
But in a very insensitive way, I refer to her as Discount Jennifer Lawrence.
I think, Jennifer Lawrence is a good actor, but this chick I think is great.
Yeah, I think she's really good.
She does look a little bit like Jennifer Lawrence. She's way more attractive.
You think so?
Yes, personally. This girl is like insanely beautiful. Haley Bennett.
Okay.
Personal taste.
Hey.
I think she's like stunningly good looking.
All right.
Not like super smoking hot type, but like holy shit, people are this attractive kind of look.
All right. To each their own, Charlize Theron. So yeah, those are the movies I watched. So out of them, if you like horror movies, I recommend The Nun. I recommend Sinister 1, Annabelle and Annabelle Creation. And then out of the other movies, I recommend Kingdom of Heaven and Robin Hood 2010, Deadpool 2, and The Red Sea Diving Resort. If you can separate yourself from the politics of The Green Zone, I think it's like a fun action movie, and it's fun Matt Damon stuff.
No, it's
I
totally
said
forgettable.
If you can separate yourself.
No, but even it's totally forgettable just as a movie. Who cares? There's tons of other movies that are like that are way better.
Yeah, but if you've seen a lot of those like I have, then it's another one.
Well, we appreciate your recommendations on movies that are a decade old.
You're welcome. Maybe Flew Under the Radar because of political leanings.
Sure.
So there you go.
Kingdom of Heaven definitely doesn't get the respect it deserves. That movie's good.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah. And like the 2010 Robin Hood, I'll watch Russell Crowe do what the fuck ever. He's fun to watch, too.
Sure. Except for in Les Mis.
Well,
did you see the new Les Mis? He was so bad in that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, he can't sing, which is part of the problem.
I also think Les Mis is just bad.
I like it. A lot of people are like, it's one of the best musicals of all time.
I think it's horribly up its own ass.
Yeah, I'm not on that side of it, but like, I think it is I enjoy the music. I think it's really powerful.
Oh, see, I don't like the music.
Story. All right.
But again, to each their own.
Right. Cast Haley Atwell in Les Mis. It's a win for me. All right.
Haley Bennett?
Sure. What did I say?
Haley Atwell?
Oh, yes. She will come up later.
Okay.
She plays Peggy Carter in the Marvel movies.
Oh, okay.
That's why. She was also in an episode of Black Mirror.
Gotcha.
Have you watched... Have you not...
I watched the one episode. My wife keeps trying to get me to watch Black Mirror, and I just don't want to.
You watched the first one, right? The national anthem
pig.
one with the pig. Yeah, that's a rough one. That's a rough one.
But like I hear like all of the ones that are really good are also rough, and all the ones that aren't good are rough for different reasons. So it's like,
Yes. I mean, and I've said this, there are more bad episodes of Black Mirror than there are good episodes, or I should say there are less great episodes than not great episodes. Not all of the not great ones are bad, but every episode, with the exception of 2, is worth watching. The first one that is not worth watching is like very political, and it's just bad. It's just bad writing, bad acting. And then the one in the recent season,
right?
With, what's her face?
Yeah.
I still can't believe how awful that episode was. Like, I cannot believe people were like, hell yeah, dude, we are nailing this. This is exactly what we should do. All right. Okay. I don't know how to transition into this. So, news. We actually have a decent amount of news. Not all of it is good, but it's worth talking about at least. Shootings are bad. That's my best transition here.
Okay.
So we do not need to talk about all of that stuff. It is relevant for video games in a couple of ways that we should talk about because it is relevant, and I feel like we would be doing a disservice if we didn't at least talk about it. So, President Trump, after these recent shootings, has come out and blamed video games as being a big part of why these are happening. He's wrong. Like, objectively, factually, is incorrect. There have been dozens of studies that have found no links between video game violence and real-life violence, but why do you need facts when you're the president of the United States? But specific to things that are happening now, ESPN was going to be airing an Apex Legends tournament on ESPN2. They have now postponed it. Originally, they had kind of canceled it, and they have come back and said, like, oh, we're going to air it in, like, October. So basically, they're like, we're going to wait until people forget about mass shootings again, and then we'll air it, which is a pretty fucking shitty move.
Yeah.
And Walmart has decided to remove posters and promotional materials of video games with guns in them. Walmarts are still selling guns.
Yeah.
And they have said, like, oh, we're taking this video game stuff down out of respect for the recent shootings.
Okay.
We're also having a big flash sale on guns.
Yeah,
Buy one rifle, get a pistol free.
Right.
Like, are you fucking serious? This is the world we're living in? We can't
Of course
we can't do this. We can't do this. So, I'm going to link in the show notes a really good op-ed piece on Game Informer that I mostly like because it links to a lot of the studies that have been done. So
Yes.
if you are curious about what has been done, or you are, like most people, hearing others blaming video games for mass murders because what the fuck? Like, seriously? If you are hearing this and want some evidence to back up the fact that those people are fucking idiots and wrong, this article will have a lot of links to that stuff. This is basically a case, like video game... This always happens. Bad stuff in the world happens, and old people blame things that they don't understand. First it was rock and roll music.
Well, it's not just old people. It's like, people fear what they don't understand, and video games as a new medium is an easy scapegoat.
I was speaking specifically to politicians who are usually older demographics.
Sure.
So, because, it was rock and roll music and comic books, and then it was television, and now it's video games. This too shall pass, I hope. The reality is politicians... The reality is that the NRA is a multi-billion-dollar business, and they pay politicians in the form of support for campaigns to maintain and create policy that benefits gun makers. So of course politicians are going to blame things other than guns for problems that are caused by people having easy access to guns. There is a big infographic that Vox published that has been making the rounds that shows... It's basically a bar chart of video game consumption by country in the world. And next to it, violent shootings by country. The same comparisons. The United States is ranked number 3 in terms of video game consumption, behind South Korea and China, I believe. And lots of other, Canada, the UK, Japan are all on that list. The similar chart that shows violent shootings, the United States is off the chart. No other, in that chart, United States takes up the whole fucking thing. Most of the other countries, you can barely even see the bar graph. It is so small. Including China and Korea, which are both above the United States in video game consumption. So if you want evidence that video games are not causing this violence, that is the only evidence that you need. We are the third highest consumption of video games, and it is not even close. We are like 10,000% higher rates of violence than any other country in the world. So how is there a correlation to video game consumption?
Yeah,
like
it's an American problem.
There is literally no reason, like literally no facts that you can point to that support this. If you want to know the difference between the United States and the other countries that are on that bar chart, where the US is off the charts and the other countries are very, very small, the biggest difference? Gun regulation. I wonder if there's some sort of cause and effect there. Let's move on.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I said, I think we would be doing a disservice if we did not at least mention it for people that are hearing about this but don't know stuff about it. I absolutely recommend you checking out the Game Informer article I'm going to link because it has a lot of the studies that have been done if you want to learn more, if you feel like you need to defend this medium against people that are using it as a scapegoat. This shit has to stop. And people just need to be more educated. Like, it literally takes 5 minutes of research to see that there is no correlation. But people are lazy. And it is what it is.
Yeah. And just like, full disclosure, this is the only thing I will say. I knew the shooter in Dayton. And I am not in a place where I would like to talk about it. So I am more than happy to move on because I agree with everything that you have said.
Yes. There is a different level of attachment, especially for you, but also, like, he went to the high school that I went to, and it was in our hometown, and it's fucked up. And that makes me more angry and passionate about people blaming the wrong things.
Right. Same.
When they should be blaming gun regulation. They should be blaming the sorry state of mental health awareness and education in this country, and the media fetishization of murderers, that we need to know all of the intimate details of these people that do these horrible things, when instead their names should be stricken from history. That is one of the largest ways, like, that is one of the biggest reasons these things happen, is because these people are looking for attention in some capacity, and we are giving it to them. And so other people that have similar thoughts are saying, hey, my name can go down in the history books by doing this. And if we instead never talked about these people's names, never gave them media marketing monikers like Son of Sam or all that shit, if we ignored and pretended like these people did not exist, I think that would make a difference. But no, playing Call of Duty turns you into a serial killer. That's what the president wants us to believe. Feel like we're living in a cartoon. All right. More bad news, but hey, all the rest of this stuff that's all bad,
yeah,
doesn't seem bad when you
trivial
compare.
As shit now. Who could possibly care that? Well, actually, I know exactly who would care about this next story, but because it's really messed up. But.
It is, yes. So recently it came out that in both 2018 and 2019, contact details for E3 attendees were compromised. This was for like people with media badges, exhibitor badges. I'm not sure if attendees were included, but it's like people with special passes and stuff. Like YouTubers and Twitch streamers and stuff that were attending had their contact and their personal information accessible.
Which, and the part that's really bad about this is, like, the bigger media corporations, like, I was listening to some other people talk about it, and I guess, like, the information they had to provide is, like, a business address, which is not as, like, threatening, but a lot of these, like
Yeah.
like the smaller, like let's say Cody and I still had casuals going on, like we were still uploading to that site and writing articles and stuff, and we would have had to put our home address because we don't have an office address, like we don't have a business address. So a lot of these people were putting their home addresses on this stuff, expecting their personal information to be protected, and now like whoever, like Joe Schmo serial killer, like could have their address. And there are already people who are like getting a lot of threats that include their home address, and like because there are people who say contentious things in the media that hey, big shocker, general public or vocal minority don't appreciate, because why would you have discourse on an opinion that differs from your own? Why not just kill them? So that's there are already a lot of documented cases about that having happened to a lot of games media and content creators. So that's obviously super fucked up. And then it also came out that the lists from 2004 and 2006 were also not protected.
Yes.
So
well, that I think had come out back then. It's just like yet another example of this shit happening. I could be misremembering, but I think that we already knew that had happened in 2004, 2006. But it's just like when the ESA is already under fire in multiple ways. Like obviously they're super on the defensive about all this video game violence stuff, and they're already like E3 is already going through this weird transition where big publishers are pulling out. Attendance was down compared to previous years. Like they're already in bad shape, and now it's coming out that hey, also all the people that are keeping us relevant, aka the media, the content creators, etc., we just fucked you over and put you at risk. Like, obviously, the example that you give of shitty people going after them, that's like way worse and realistic. But even if you take that stuff out of it, it's still like now some random media person can be spamming your home address with promotional materials and shit, like telemarketing you. Like, even that level of it is fucking like, why? Like, how does this stuff how does this happen? That's my question. Like, how do you not have better security and like safeguards in place to protect the people that are keeping your Keymark event afloat? In more ESA news, this is actually good news. Oh, I was trying to order it and like, let's get all the bad news out of the way. But this one, because it was such an important story, I left it near the top. So this is actually good news. The ESA has announced at a recent FTC panel that Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo have all made, are all going to be implementing requirements for publishers to disclose the odds of loot boxes in games. So this is not outright banning loot boxes or like random, boxes in games, but at least displaying in something. They haven't said where yet or how, but like displaying what your odds are of getting the things from there. That's where my cynicism comes in, to say like this could very easily be something where they just need to put it in their like end user license agreement, that is already like 40 pages long, and they just add a little addendum that has it where no one is going to ever see it. That's my cynical view of how this is going to be implemented. It is something, but that's meaningless. Like 1% of people look at that. Hopefully it's something that's actually displayed on the store page, or at least like on the store page it has a link where you can see the odds. That's what I think should happen. There's no specific date for implementing all this stuff. They're targeting 2020. But a lot of independent big publishers, I know Activision was on the list. I think maybe Epic was on the list. So a lot of big publishers independently were already saying, we're going to start doing this now.
Yeah.
So
Elder Scrolls Blades already does that on their chests and stuff. Yeah.
What does that look like?
So it says like, hey, if you get this tier chest, you're guaranteed this, this, and this, and you have a chance of getting 1 to 3 of this or 2 to 10 of this. Yeah.
Mass Effect 3 did that.
Yeah.
Way back in 2013.
Yeah.
They always had on their loot boxes like guaranteed 2 rares, whatever, higher chance for ultra rares, etc.
Right.
That stuff shouldn't be like that. And it isn't, thankfully, it isn't being contended from publishers. But that's so, like, that's nothing. Like, that's not a big deal to have to implement that kind of thing. It should be fairly easy and, like, low lift for them to have to do that stuff.
Yeah.
So the title that I wrote of this news story is Andrew Wilson doesn't think people want to play EA games on Switch. Which sounds stupid because it is, but that's basically like his argument. They had a big investors call like they always do every quarter, and EA in the past had a big publishing deal with Nintendo on the Wii U, and it certainly didn't go that great because the Wii U didn't sell well, the ports were bad quality, like it fell apart. And so in this earnings call, Andrew Wilson, who's the CEO of EA, he was asked why like something like The Sims wasn't on Switch. Switch is selling well. It's a multiplayer game. It has a lot of microtransactions and added revenue. Like, this seems like a slam dunk. Why wouldn't you put it on there? It's a really popular franchise. And Andrew Wilson said that based on their data, most people that own a Switch also own a PS4 or an Xbox, and therefore would rather play EA games on those platforms compared to Switch. And like, I get that argument. I do. Because if I look at it on a high level, like if I think of like a shooter or a multiplayer game or a more like intense story-driven game, like look at something like the new Star Wars Jedi game that's coming out. I would not play that on Switch when I could play it on my PS4 Pro. That's stupid. But a game like The Sims, that is very pick up and drop kind of game.
Right. It doesn't require a lot of finesse with the controls.
No. Like, that seems like it's very on the go friendly. I would probably rather play that game on Switch than on a home console.
So his last point, I think, makes the most sense.
Yes.
He also mentioned that Nintendo's online infrastructure is not good enough to support their live game, DLC, other user-generated content stuff that EA does around The Sims.
Right.
It's like that part makes the most sense to me.
Does.
Because like they don't want to release like a stripped-down version of the game that doesn't have those things, like those extra monetization options, because that makes it like less likely for them to make the bigger profit. Like that makes the most sense to me. Like I feel like that's the thing you should say first, right? Like, hey, Nintendo's online infrastructure just doesn't support the way that we want to continue supporting the game, and like you would have restricted access to a lot of content. It would be a lesser version of the game, or you know, they're more amicable language around that. But like, I feel like that's the thing you should say first, and then back it up with also we have a lot of data points that say that Switch owners also own these other systems, right? Like that should have been your first point, not your follow-up point.
Right. And I do understand that perspective. I still would say that like there's a way to make it work, and I feel like they're leaving money on the table. And like big video game publishers are super risk averse, which is why we see so many sequels.
Yeah.
And so many like big AAA games where like if a couple of big AAA games fail, these companies are fucking wiped out. Like look at BioWare, man. BioWare is hanging on a thread because they had 2 games come out that weren't well received. This is one of the like most hailed video game developers in the history of the industry, and 2 bad games, and people are like genuinely concerned that EA is going to shut them down. Like, these big publishers cannot lose bets that they make. So from that perspective, I get why they're not willing to take the risk necessarily, but I still feel like there's a way to make it work, and it would be good for their consumers objectively.
Yeah. I also wonder if the size of The Sims is a problem because there's so much additional add-on content. I wonder if the install size is also something they're considering, because
Maybe.
like there's just so much. The Sims 4 is such a big game now.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
He had also pointed to poor sales of FIFA and Fi on Switch, but like that is also kind of a shit argument because Fi is a bad game and it didn't sell well on other consoles, so it's not weird that it didn't sell well on Switch. And FIFA, I don't play FIFA, so I don't care, but like I was looking into it and a lot of people are like, that port onto Switch was really low quality. Like it was a poorly done port. So this is his example of like people would rather play FIFA on their Xbox or their PS4. And it's like, well, yes, but that's because the Switch game is a worse version of the game. And that's not Nintendo's fault. Like you guys did a bad job porting it. So it just seems like like kind of circular logic in a lot of cases, and a lot of like causation not equaling correlation sort of things. And it's also really easy to bag on EA because everybody hates them because they're a bad company. Like, to be fair, do they deserve to be consistently America's most hated company? No. There are companies that are way worse than EA that have a way bigger impact on our lives than video games, but they're certainly a bad company. All right, here's another fucking weird one that I went through very like parabolic feelings as I was looking into this story. So it first came out that 2K is currently investigating a YouTuber / Twitch streamer because he's been leaking a lot of Borderlands 3 details. And the immediate internet reaction, because he has been posting stuff of like, hey, like, I'm just accessing the stuff that's out there. Like, there was an extension on Twitch that linked to the YouTube video that let me go into like test files where I saw like names of characters and areas, and like I was able to access that stuff. And so everybody, because people hate Gearbox because of Randy Pitchford, people hate big video game companies, they're just shitting on 2K, like, hashtag boycott Borderlands 3.
There's no way that random YouTube dude could be lying.
Yes, exactly. So everybody jumps on the bandwagon to defend this dude against this big corporation, and it seems like actually like he's in the wrong. And people are now, because they've already planted their flag, unwilling to admit that they were wrong and jumping to conclusions. So basically the story is that back in April, this dude revealed Borderlands 3 stuff that had not been announced, and said that he had found it through a Twitch extension that 2K itself had published, which allowed him to look at a lot of the game's testing files, which would imply no wrongdoing. It was 2K's mistake of putting this extension and making it available. 2K went on a 10-month investigation of this, including sending like private investigators to his house to investigate him and ask him questions, which that is where a lot of people were like, holy, this is fucked up of them to do this, and like invading his privacy and going to his home. But apparently that extension was private. It was not public like he is claiming it was, which means he would have had to hack into the back end of Twitch in order to access it, which is against the law and against their user agreement of Twitch. He was also publishing details back in 2018 before the game had even been announced, and there was literally no way for him to access any game files anywhere because they did not exist, which implies that someone had broken an NDA and talking to him, which again is against agreements that people make.
Right.
He had a perk on YouTube for if you like sponsored his YouTube channel, that he would get you into a private Discord channel where he'd give you like additional secret info, which is just shitty in general, but also violates Discord's policies. So they shut down his Discord. Okay. Twitch has since shut down his Twitch channel. I think his YouTube channel. I don't know if it was shut down, but he started deleting all of his Borderlands videos, etc., because he's being investigated, obviously. So he's like, seems like he's super in the wrong. Like he broke the law in accessing these files, broke an NDA with people to publish stuff that he should not have been publishing.
Lied to a bunch of people.
Yeah, he's lying to these investigators about what's happening and to the public. And yet people are still defending him instead. And it's just like, okay. Just the sheep, the internet sheep, man.
No,
just jump on the hot take bandwagon.
But the corporation is bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a fun one.
Yeah.
Hashtag boycott Borderlands 3. No, I'm buying it. I already pre-ordered it. Like there's so many bummer news stories, dude. So Annapurna Pictures, which is a film production company / distribution company, they put out films like Her, Zero Dark 30, recently Sorry to Bother You, which is super critically acclaimed. It has Oscar buzz. They recently lost their marketing president and their film chief, and there are a bunch of media rumors that they're like looking into filing for bankruptcy. This company was started by Megan Ellison, who is the 7th richest person in the world, which is nuts. And again, it's super, like, they're putting out really critically acclaimed films, but they've had a couple of recent flops, and they recently dropped 2 of their movies. They were producing a movie that J-Lo is in called Hustlers, maybe. It's about like prostitutes or strippers or something. I watched the trailer. I should say I watched half the trailer because it looked awful. So I'm not surprised they dropped it because it looked really terrible. But anyway, they're in financial trouble. She is claiming, Megan Ellison is claiming that everything is fine. She put out a big email to all of her employees, like saying, hey, I'm sorry that all this stuff is going on. I attract a lot of media attention because of my wealth, and it's unfair because people are looking into stuff where they should not. We're totally fine, like trying to reassure. You can take her word or not. The bigger part is like Annapurna Pictures also has a video game division, Annapurna Interactive, who has been crushing it the last couple of years. They put out Outer Wilds this year. They put out What Remains of Edith Finch. Last year they put out Florence and Donut County. Like, they're putting out a lot of really, really awesome indie games. And obviously, if their parent company went under, probably safe to assume that their video game company would also be in trouble. The video game company on Twitter has been saying, like, hey, we're fine, everything's fine. But it would just be a really big bummer, like, if this went this way. Because they make a lot of really great movies. They make a lot of really great video games. It would suck if they went down. So yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. They're an indie sort of. They're one of those like mid-market companies that does a lot of indie stuff and gives them a lot more attention, like Finji does with games and stuff. Like Finji does a lot of really good games too. So it would just be. I just feel like we'd lose a lot of really creative, high-quality games if this happened, and movies too. Crash Team Racing has added microtransactions, which is fucked up for them to just out of nowhere add them with no announcement after all the reviews have gone out.
They said this was going to be coming, though, like a little while ago. They said they were going to be adding them in a future update.
Did they?
Yeah, I knew that this was going to be happening.
Huh. But they announced it after the game was out and after all the reviews and stuff is published.
Yes, it was announced after the game was out and the reviews were published. But this wasn't just, hey, an update happened and now there's loot boxes.
Totally. Yeah. I don't mean... I meant without, like, it being part of the promotion of the game.
Correct.
So, the game's currency are called Wumpa Coins. The progression... I haven't played the game. I have read a lot of people were complaining about the progression and doling out the Wumpa Coins really slowly, where it felt like trying to get you to play the game way more than you should in order to get the Wumpa Coins to like buy the customizations and stuff and characters and whatnot. And so as part of this, you can now buy Wumpa Coins with real money. And so now people are like, okay, now we understand why the progression was so borked. It's because they want you to buy Wumpa Coins because it takes so long to earn them in game, which again is extra shitty. Part of this release also added a new character and a map and a bunch of other items that can either be earned in game or purchased with via Wumpa Coins. To be fair, it seems like the Wumpa Coins are only used for cosmetics, but it's still pretty shitty to not mention this. Like, as the media cycle is ramping, to wait until all the reviews have been published to put in microtransactions. It's just like, they knew what they were doing. Yeah. And that's pretty fucked.
They knew they were circumventing the review zeitgeist.
Yeah. Speaking of Activision, we can move into some positive news. They recently said in an earnings call that their recent remasters, the Spyro collection, the Crash collection, Crash Team Racing, have all been really successful. And they're super open to doing more remasters, as well as creating new games in these much beloved IPs. So, like, creating a new Crash game or a new Spyro game. I'm not sure, honestly, in those two particular instances, what those would look like. Because a lot of that is based on nostalgia. And, like, Spyro in particular, like, it looks like a brand new game graphically. But mechanically, it's very outdated. And it's still fun. But it's a very old game, and you can tell. So I'm not sure what they would make a new Spyro game like. But anyway, made me think what are old Activision franchises and games that I would like to see remastered or see a new entry in them. And I went on Wikipedia and was looking at hey, what are all the Activision games? And I quickly realized that I don't like a lot of there aren't a lot of Activision games that I'm super psyched on. The ones that I came up with were the old Call of Duty games 1 through 3.
Those
doing
are all
an HD
very good.
remaster collection. Modern Warfare 2 has been rumored for a really long time, which I think would make sense.
That should absolutely happen.
They made all of the Spider-Man games, like Shattered Dimensions and Web of Shadows and stuff, which were all like okay. They weren't awesome, but they were fine. Sure, make a remastered collection. Why not?
I feel like you can't do that after the new Spider-Man game came out. Like, the standards for that
You
are
are
very different
probably
now.
right. You are probably right. But those games are really different because they're not open world. They're not big Spider-Man 2 style. They're more
that's true.
story and kind of action driven. But you still are probably right after that Insomniac game. The Tenchu games, which were good, that it was rumored for a while that From Software was making a new Tenchu, but then it was Sekiro. X-Men Legends? After Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 just got made, you could make an X-Men Legends game, which is basically like the same thing, but kind of better, actually. I liked X-Men Legends more.
Okay.
I just thought it was a better game. And then they made a bunch of Star Wars games, which they probably can't do anymore.
Right.
Like they did Republic Commando.
Which
the
Republic
Jedi, the
Commando
Jedi
is
Knight games.
so good.
Republic Commando's great.
It deserves it, but it's no longer canon. So it's like,
fair.
How do you really
true.
do that?
Yeah, that's also true. So yeah, it was more so just like, oh, it would be fun to see what Activision games, and then after looking, I was like, oh, not many. Like, I'm not that interested in many of the Activision games.
Maybe what they do is Activision presents Star Wars Legends, Star Wars Republic Commando.
Right. Yeah.
Or something.
But I would totally play a remastered trilogy of the first 3 COD games.
Yeah.
I would definitely play that.
Those games, though, had the, like, enemies respawn infinitely thing, so maybe don't do that.
Yes, that's a bad mechanic. Destiny. Their free-to-play New Light mode and Shadowkeep have been delayed a couple of weeks. Supposed to release on September 17th, now targeting October 1st. It is a bummer for people that care, but at the end of the day, if it's going to make the game better, that's fine. The Raid, which always comes out a couple days after it releases, is now coming on October 5th, where they're doing their like world first streaming, etc. They didn't really give a big reason why, other than just saying like we need more time. Since we came out on our own, we're having more difficulties in figuring all this stuff out, so we just need a little bit more time. They've still said that the cross-save stuff is happening this summer. They did talk a little bit more about how that's going to work on PC, where like you can start to import your saves over to Steam, I guess, or yes, over to Steam, and then you can actually do the cross-save stuff after Shadowkeep launches, I think is how that goes. And then, like I mentioned, as I've been playing, their Moments of Triumph stuff that they're doing, that's been extended to September 17th, so at least people have extra time to do all that time-wasting, grinding for your gear.
And I guess it's worth mentioning that the Stadia doesn't release until November,
right?
And that because that's supposed to release with Destiny and Shadowkeep, so this probably still doesn't affect that timetable.
Yeah, although could be a reason why they're delaying this is because they're putting more development efforts into the Stadia stuff.
True.
It's possible.
That could be.
So this is an interesting one that I really did not expect to ever see.
Yeah.
They are releasing a definitive edition of the complete Telltale's Walking Dead series. It's being put out by Skybound Games, who finished up the final season after Telltale went defunct. I'm surprised they were able to make this happen. I guess that was part of them acquiring the rights and finishing out, is they got the access to all the old stuff.
Right.
It's coming out September 10th. There will be an on-disc version of this for $50. It includes a bunch of remastered visuals. It has all 4 seasons, including the 400 Days one-shot, the Michonne miniseries. So I think it's like 28 total episodes, they said in the little trailer. So it's a cool thing.
Yeah, it's a good value prop.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, I love the first season, obviously.
Yeah.
I played 400 Days. I thought it was okay. I played like half of season 2 and then fell off, and that's it. So I haven't played Michonne. I haven't played the other seasons. I have all of them, I think, but I could be wrong.
I don't have the final season, but
I could see myself replaying this.
If this comes out on Switch, I think I would like to get it for Switch.
Interesting. I would be a little afraid of playing it on Switch because their engine is already so shitty. Like, I feel like it would only make it that much worse playing it on the Switch.
Maybe. I don't know. They got the Telltale Minecraft to work on Netflix.
That's true.
Although that's all streaming, so that's all
Yeah.
they're running the processing on that. But
in a world where I was able to play games, like I could see myself being interested in reliving the first season and actually seeing everything else through. $50, like it's not a bad value prop for the quantity of content, but it still is a little steep to be replaying some of this stuff for me personally.
okay.
Cyberpunk 2077 is getting a card game. So a video game based on a board game is getting a card game adaptation, basically.
Sounds right.
Which is funny. They said specifically like this isn't a tabletop game because that would be absurd to make a tabletop game based on a video game based on a tabletop game. Like that's like one layer too far. But it's coming out in 2020. It's being made by the dude that made the Bloodborne card game, which apparently people really liked. So that's fun. Cyberpunk, it seems like a world that is well built that could justify this. I know you are far more into the tabletop card game stuff than me. Any interest in this?
I just like Cyberpunk doesn't interest me as much as like fantasy does.
Yeah.
And I'm already like so deep into D&D, and like my buddy, my wife and I are playing Gloomhaven. He's actually coming over today after the podcast to play Gloomhaven. Like we're just so deep into that stuff that I would not. I'm also not super into card games, so I don't know that I would really be interested in this, but in the core Cyberpunk tabletop game, I don't know that I would ever play it.
Yeah. Okay, so we talked about Deadpool and how he fits in the Marvel Universe now.
Yeah.
The director of Deadpool 2 has said that he doesn't think a new Deadpool would need to be rated R. I
think that's just him.
Disagree.
I think that's just him saying, but
Please, God, let us make another
Deadpool 3.
Yeah.
I really liked all of the fourth wall breaking stuff about the in the second Deadpool about the first Deadpool movie.
Yes.
And like at the beginning of the opening credits, how they're all like, I can't believe we're making another Deadpool, like written by, I can't believe we're making another Deadpool movie, and like stuff like that. It's very fun.
So as part of Marvel's Phase 4 plans, when they announced that, which we talked about last episode, they kind of teased or potentially teased how the X-Men might fit in with the multiverse stuff. Did not mention Deadpool at all, which was interesting because those movies have been very successful, especially compared to like how bad the X-Men movies have been by and large and how disappointing, especially like the newest one, Dark Phoenix, the last one, was a huge flop. But Deadpool has been really strong. People love those movies.
I'm sorry, that moment in Deadpool 2 where he's like, seriously, these are the only X-Men that we can get in this movie? That's all we can afford? And then the camera like pans over and there's all the actual like, X-Men. And then Beast just like slowly closes the door.
That was really good.
Oh, man. So good.
The biggest thing behind this is that Disney does not do R-rated movies. None of the Marvel movies have been rated R. I personally do not see how really Deadpool can work not being rated R. Right. They did that like Christmas re-release of Deadpool 2 that was more family friendly. I think that was like rated PG-13.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I don't remember what it was called. It was like Once Upon a Time in Deadpool or something like that. I don't remember what it was called. But it was successful. People liked it. I don't know. It's my personal thing. Deadpool is the crassest superhero there is.
Yeah.
So to strip it down and make it PG-13 feels disingenuous and like not on brand for the character.
Right.
So maybe there's a way that they could make it work. There have been rumors about doing a Deadpool and Blade crossover, where in that case they could like make him not part of the Marvel universe, and then they could justify an R rating maybe because he's like separate in his own thing. I don't know. Hopefully they find a way to make it rated R because I think it should be rated R.
Yeah.
More info on Marvel's What If series that we talked about as part of the Phase 4 stuff. It is animated, which we speculated about last time. And they talked about a bunch of returning voice actors, which kind of gives a little indication of what some of the storylines will be. And there are way more people returning to do voices than I would have imagined. So Haley Atwell, who I mistakenly said instead of Haley Bennett, so she played Agent Carter in the Captain America movie. She had her own Agent Carter spinoff on ABC. I think went 2 seasons and then got canceled. Sebastian Stan, who was Bucky Barnes. A lot of other people that were in the World War II Cap stuff, like the guy that the guy that played the Doctor, the dude from Band of Brothers that plays the dude with the mustache, the blonde guy.
Yeah,
a bunch of people from there. So probably going to do something World War II related with Captain America. That's a what if of like maybe what if Bucky became Cap or what if Peggy became Captain America, something like that. Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hiddleston, and Jeff Goldblum are all going to do voices, so there'll be something Thor Ragnarok related. I think what's his face? Taiki Waititi is also doing the voice of his rock Krog guy. Is that what his name is? Krog? Paul Rudd and Michael Douglas, so do something Ant-Man related. Chadwick Boseman and Michael B. Jordan for Black Panther. Josh Brolin, Samuel L. Jackson are doing voices. A bunch of the secondary characters from Guardians of the Galaxy. The, like, Ravagers. Is that what they were called? The, like, red jacket guys that Peter Quill was part of. That Yondu ran. I think they're called the Ravagers.
Okay, yeah.
A bunch of those dudes are doing voices. And Mark Ruffalo and your favorite Jeremy Renner are also going to come back to do voices. So it's like, with the exception of like some of the big guys where it doesn't make sense, like where like no Robert Downey Jr., no Chris Pratt or Chris Pratt Evans. Or Chris Evans. A lot of other folks are coming back. Like I'm surprised to see Chris Hemsworth on this list.
Yeah.
So that should be cool. Honestly, I don't know. I get why they want the actors to play the characters in the animated stuff. I am hoping that they do more with the what ifs than just what if versions of the stuff we've already seen. Like I want to see them do something like totally different. I'm having trouble thinking.
I feel like they
what
did
a cool
really crazy stuff with Into the Spider-Verse. Like they explored more of that.
Yeah.
Like some of the crazy comic stuff with that. So I feel like they're not opposed to doing that.
But that was Sony.
Oh, that's true. It was, wasn't it?
Yeah. And no, and I'm not saying that they're necessarily opposed to doing that. It's just it feels like they're doing this to get people that love the movies to watch it, versus how can we be creative with what if and have that be the starting point. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Which doesn't, like, you know, what I just listed, that's like 6 episodes. So I'm sure there's plenty of other examples. But, like, I would love to see it if, like, what if the Ancient One was Doctor Strange? That might be a bad example, too. Because that's still, like, we're taking a movie character and making it... Like, I would rather see them do something totally different. I think the example I gave last episode was, like, what if all of the Avengers were women? And just, like, totally random. You know what I mean? Like, something like that. Where it has nothing to do with any of the actors or characters from the movies. Okay, so here's more bad news. I guess I should have put this at the top. But David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, infamous dream murderers, creators of Game of Thrones, have signed a $200 million development deal with Netflix.
Okay, see... Your headline here in the show document says a $200 deal with Netflix.
Yeah, that's way better.
I like that idea.
That's way better. Yes,
what can they do with $200? Go.
That's about what they're worth. That's what their creativity is worth.
That's their network.
Obviously, like, props to them for getting that money. Carrying that bag, as the kids say, I believe. But, yeah, I mean, they're maximizing their potential based on the success of Game of Thrones and saying, like, hey, you know how literally everyone hated the final season? Let's forget about that. Give us money. We're really good at our jobs, except for the part where we make our own stuff up, which is what they're going to be doing now. So nothing specific about how this affects their Star Wars trilogy. I'm hoping that it cancels their Star Wars trilogy, but I know that's wishful thinking. No, like, real details on what these things will be. It's just a develop, much like the Adam Sandler deal with Netflix of, like, you're going to make a bunch of movies for us. They are whatever they are. And then Adam Sandler was like, awesome. Now I have millions of dollars to do bullshit and put forth zero effort, which is what he did. And I'm sure what David Benioff and D.B. Weiss will do, because that's what they did with Game of Thrones as well. Hooray. So here's a fucking bonkers story.
Yeah.
MoviePass came out several years ago in 2014, which was basically a monthly subscription service that you paid a monthly fee and you could go see however many movies you wanted. When it launched in 2014, it was $35 a month, which is a lot, but basically, like, if you see 4 movies in a month, that pays for it. So for people that really want to see a lot of movies, this is totally worthwhile. Then they upped it to $45 a month. Then in 2016, they upped it to $50 a month to see 6 movies, which is still like sort of a value prop.
Yeah.
Or $99 a month for unlimited, which that becomes like, okay, I got to see 10 movies in a month for this to be worthwhile. Not sure. And that's basically how the public reacted. And so people were no longer buying the service. So then they like tanked their prices to $21 a month, then $10 a month, then $8 a month, then $7 a month in 2018. And then in February of 2018, they announced that they had hit 2 million subscribers, which is like, hey man, people love this service because they're basically paying us what is the effectively a movie where they can see way more than one movie.
Right. Which,
not really sure how they thought that would work long term.
Not a sustainable business model.
And guess what? It wasn't. So then they started changing how the subscription worked because they realized, oh shit, this is not making us money. So they started doing some stuff that was pretty shady, like saying there were technical issues whenever big movies would release. The infamous one was when Mission Impossible Fallout came out. People were unable to purchase tickets through it for that movie, getting like this like technical error that was like, oh, I'm sorry, there are no showtimes near you, or oh, this theater doesn't have seats, when they did have seats and it was showing. And so MoviePass was like, oh yeah, it's a technical problem, we're working on it. But everybody was kind of like, really? Or are you just pretending because you don't want us to see this movie? And then after Spider-Man Far From Home released in June, they kind of like went dark and were like, this is no longer available. We're going to be refunding people that have purchased. They haven't said when it's returning. It's like dead. And now there's a report that came out that said they were also changing user passwords without the user's knowledge to prevent them from accessing movies when they would come out. So like a movie would come out, I would want to get a ticket through MoviePass, and I would be unable to log in because my password isn't working for some reason. And then I just like, it's too much of a hassle, I guess I'm not going to go see it. And it was because MoviePass was changing people's passwords without them knowing so that they couldn't get into the application. That's fucked. Like, that's like fraud, kind of. Definitely illegal.
Well, also then you can't get into your account to cancel the service.
Also true.
Until you go through like an account reset option and stuff.
Also true. And the cherry on top of this shitstorm is that MoviePass was working with Jerry Media for a couple of years, who are one of the infamous companies behind the Fire Festival.
Hell yeah, straight fire.
That's about all you need to know there. MoviePass spitting straight fire festival. So that's crazy. I remember when MoviePass came out, and I was like, this might be worthwhile. Like, I would definitely maximize my usage and go see a lot of movies because I wanted to see a lot more movies than I was. And then I just kind of never did it. And that's when they started changing their terms of service where it became not worthwhile anymore.
Right.
And apparently a bunch of other people agreed with me because they're out of business. It just seemed like such an unsustainable business model in general.
Yeah.
Like, great idea to kind of streamline that process, and but didn't work.
I wonder if they wound up making money off of that.
No. I mean, I'm sure the people at the top did.
Right.
But as a business, clearly not. And then finally, something that's going to make me definitely lose money. Disney has announced that they are bundling Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus for $13 a month. So when Disney Plus launches on November 12th, that's when this bundle launches. Coincidentally, Netflix is also $13 a month. Surprise, surprise. What a weird pricing model. Unfortunately, the Hulu in this is their standard version, not their commercial-free version, which I think most people have. That's what I have. We upgraded for Hulu Plus with no commercials because, holy shit, those commercials were so annoying. It was worth the extra, like, $4 a month. I'm not sure if you'll be able to, like, upsell to get the upgraded Hulu Plus as part of this bundle and just pay the difference. But I'm probably getting this because I already wanted to get Disney Plus. I already have Hulu. And ESPN Plus is just kind of a bonus. So it's basically a $5 per month discount if you bundle these three things together, which is a pretty good value proposition.
So what, Disney Plus is like $10 a month, right?
I think it's like $8.
Okay.
Because
we already get Hulu through, I think, Spotify. My wife
really?
pays for Spotify. I think she gets Hulu through them. Or something. And then, I mean, I don't give a shit about ESPN Plus.
Right.
I also just don't know if I give a shit about Disney Plus either.
Oh man, I don't know, dude. Well, granted, you don't care as much about all the Marvel stuff, but like
Right.
all those Marvel shows they announced, the Mandalorian show, which looks awesome.
That's like the one thing.
They're bringing back Star Wars: The Clone Wars, which seems awesome.
I didn't. Yeah. I forgot
And
about
like they'll have all the Marvel movies on there. They'll have all of the old Disney animated movies on there. A bunch of old Disney shows and stuff.
that. Yeah, like I might pay for like a month and then marathon all the Marvel movies.
Yeah, that's
and then
fair.
like pay for a month and watch The Mandalorian and just kind of
Right.
piecemeal it.
Well,
every now and then.
the bummer is they have also said that they are not doing the binge model like Netflix does. They are doing the Hulu model, which is weekly episodes. Well, I guess Hulu does both, but like a lot of what Hulu does is weekly episodes, which like The Mandalorian, you get an episode every week.
Okay. Well, I'd probably
So-
just wait till the whole thing was done and then.
Great point. But then you
Yeah.
miss the zeitgeist, bro.
Yeah, I'm not on social media. Who cares?
Yeah, but you're on this podcast, you bitch.
You bitch.
So that's that. Definitely getting that. Well, I should say, if I can upgrade my Hulu, I will probably get this. If I cannot upgrade my Hulu, it probably isn't worthwhile, and I would just get the Disney Plus by itself.
Right.
Because it is worth not having commercials on Hulu, dude. Those commercials are the worst. And you see the same ones over and over and over. Which they do on purpose to get you to buy the upgraded Hulu Plus.
Right.
But whatever. No specific hate of the week, because shit is too real in life that I don't want to have a frivolous hate, because there's enough to be mad about already. So hey, gun violence, hate of the week. Most fun hate of the week ever. I feel like hate of the weeks in the past I've been like, people that tailgate you while you're driving. And now it's like, people dying.
Boom.
That's where we are.
Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-da.
Let's sound on something positive. Like an email from Steve in DC. Steve writes, Shane, Kyle, we all have some nostalgic classics that we would love to go back to, whether it comes to TV shows, games, or movies. With my favorite Nickelodeon's Are You Afraid of the Dark getting a reboot next year, what TV series, movie, or video game are you most looking forward to for a reboot? Create one if it doesn't exist. Thanks for the pod, Steve in DC. So, specific to ones that are already happening that I am looking forward to, what Nintendo is doing with the Link's Awakening remake, I'm super psyched about. I don't have a ton of attachment to that game other than just like, yes, it's a very good Legend of Zelda game. Like, a lot of people consider it one of the greatest games ever made. I'm not there, but it's awesome. Mostly, like, I love what they're doing to adapt that game and make it unique and cute visually. So that I'm super psyched about. I also am greatly enjoying what a lot of companies are doing with these, like the Spyro remaster, where they're clearly putting effort into, like, it's not a cash grab. There's real effort going behind it. So broadly, like, that move that is happening, I think, is very positive. For, like, when these consoles first launched, there were a bunch of, like, unnecessary quote-unquote HD remasters from, like, late-gen PS3 games. Like, I was listening to, I think it was the 2014 or 2015 Giant Bomb Game of the Year deliberations, because I have a really long commute and I gotta listen to something. But they were talking about, like, most unnecessary HD remaster that year. And, like, there was a remastered port of the Deadpool game starring Nolan North. That game was garbage.
Yeah.
And they had stopped selling that game because they lost the licensing rights, and then they did an HD remaster. They did an HD remaster bundle for the 2 prototype games. Who on this earth needed to replay an up-res prototype game? Like, are you serious? So at least that stuff doesn't seem to be happening as much anymore. Yeah. I would love to see... I guess it doesn't necessarily fit into this category. I would still love to see an up-res, and I use that in sneer quotes, collection of the Mass Effect trilogy. I would love to replay that trilogy on my PS4 Pro. Not really what Steve is asking, but that's one of the things that pops into my mind about, like, remastering games. Yeah, do you have any, like, big ones of reboots that are either coming or ideas that you have for these?
Well, just like we talked about earlier, like Republic Commando, I think that's a
Right.
really good one to be able to revisit. Even if it was, like, hey, we're making a new Republic Commando game that is now officially canon. You could maybe even call it something else. I don't care about the name, but like that squad-based, playing as a trooper, like class-based, squad-based, like kind of a single-player campaign, co-op compatible, that kind of stuff would be a really good time. But I'd put my usual that I always go back to is Dark Void. I would like just reboot it, because like the first one had a lot of promise, and like flying around with your jetpack and like hitting the brake at the right moment and then blasting a dude off the side of like a structure. It's a ton of fun. Like all the weird stuff with gravity and like shifting perspective, like that was a lot of fun. And I think you could do some more inventive and more impressive stuff with it now. And then also I put down Halo, a reboot of Halo, because at this point I'm a little divested from the canon, because it's just kind of messy, and 343 maybe didn't do the best job with what they were given, and I'm not super happy with like the direction of it, and so I kind of wish that Halo Infinite was like a new Halo game.
Yeah, because
like a reboot.
The initial teaser, that was a lot of the speculation, was that it was some kind of reboot, reimagining, whatever. Yeah,
right. And so like, I mean, I'm up for whatever it is, but I think it would be more compelling to me for them to kind of start square one again, and it could have a lot of the same stuff, but rework some of the story framework and some of the characters. I think would be, and then they could start re-releasing like new books and stuff. Like I've thoroughly enjoyed the new Star Wars books for the most part.
Okay.
I liked those old Halo books. They were simple but fun, and I would be into reading new Halo books as well. That kind of were able to expand upon the fiction in a way that didn't interfere with what Bungie had going on at the time, stuff like that. So, Halo would be cool. Obviously, it will never happen, but Halo would be cool.
Yeah. I thought of a real one and a joke one. The real one is Dead Space.
Yeah.
The first Dead Space games is one of my favorite games ever made. The second game is good, but does not capture what made the first game special. And the third game is hilarious.
Yeah.
But, okay, so this is my personal opinion on this, like, reboot mentality that we're living under now. Like, they just announced they're rebooting Home Alone. Like, I generally, with exceptions, am anti-reboots.
Same.
I have nothing against them in a vacuum, because unlike what most internet, keyboard warriors say, like, them rebooting Ghostbusters with an all-female cast does nothing to affect the original Ghostbusters movie.
Correct.
Those are still enjoyable. They're still great. You can still watch them whenever you want, and they're fantastic. It being a new Ghostbusters that is different doesn't do anything to hurt your enjoyment of the old one. What annoys me is two things. One is it stifles trying new things, because it's like, let's just keep trying to capture nostalgia over and over and over and over again. And two, the level of effort into a lot of these things seems not as high as it should be, or at least like the quality. Like, I have zero problem with them rebooting Ghostbusters with an all-female cast. The problem is that the trailers for that movie made it seem not funny or good. I did not see it because it didn't look funny or good. I'm not going to force myself to watch something in that case. Or, like, I know you liked the new Jumanji movie, but looking at the trailer of that, it looked fucking terrible.
Right. I would never have watched the movie based on the trailers. I watched the movie because I thought it would be funny to watch the new Jumanji movie as a joke.
Right.
And then it was actually a lot of fun.
I don't believe you, but that is fine. I think that this is a scam. Like, this is a long con to get me to waste an hour and 40 minutes of my life watching Jumanji.
Not true.
But that's like, and appreciate the question, Steve. And like, my point is, I'm not trying to take away anyone's excitement for reboots. I broadly just don't really like them. But like Dead Space, for example, like that is a case where it has a vibe that is all its own, that other games haven't really been able to capture that in the same way. Like, I hate horror games, and I fucking love Dead Space because the mechanics and the story were so awesome. So if they were able to recapture that in a new form, that could be really cool. The joke example I thought of, actually, I went on a journey with this joke that was in my head because I thought of the joke and then realized that I wouldn't even want this to happen as a joke. That's how depressing the current state of this is. And that is to remake the Star Wars prequels. Because in my head, I'm like, hey, jokey joke. Everyone always talks about let's remake the Star Wars prequels because George Lucas was a hack and those movies are terrible. But with the current state of Star Wars movies, I legitimately don't even have faith that if they remade the prequels, that they would be better than the prequels were. So I ruined my own joke for myself before saying it, and that really bummed me out. But that's one of my age-old ones. Like, before The Last Jedi came out, that would have been my answer. Like, yes, remake the Star Wars prequels. Same broad story, but better writing and acting. More attention paid to characters that were, like, ham-fisted, like Jango Fett and
practical effects
Darth Maul.
and less bad CG.
Yeah. And to be fair, Episode 7 is perfectly fine. I think that it was a little creatively bankrupt, like it wasn't trying hard enough. But it's Rian Johnson's fault that The Last Jedi sucked. He wrote and directed that movie, and he purposefully ignored stuff that is core to Star Wars and core to what J.J. Abrams set up because he's a piece of shit. So I'm not going to blame Star Wars for The Last Jedi, but Solo was also a completely unnecessary, mediocre film, and Rogue One was also a completely unnecessary, mediocre film. So, like, when I look at the new stable of Star Wars movies, it's hard for me to say, like, yeah, I want more of these, even if it is to remake movies that I think are bad. I would way rather continue to watch the prequels and be slightly sad about the fact that they aren't as good as I wished they would have been, than to get hyped up for a remake of the Star Wars prequels only to be more disappointed again by bad prequel remakes. That's like the worst case scenario, is they remake these movies and do a worse job of it.
That's just like end of Lord of the Rings here at the end of all things.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't have a ton of great answers, mostly just because I'm not like super pro reboot. I would rather see something actually new. But yeah, I guess with a lot of the superhero stuff, like give it a decade. But like if they were to stop the Marvel engine, I
thought about bringing that up and like come back, but have it be at a more measured pace,
right? And do something totally different.
Right.
Like completely change the characters in some way, which the comics have done plenty of times. Like Thor was a woman in the comics for a while. Like do something like that and totally change the character.
And like Ultimate Iron Man had like an autoimmune deficiency.
Totally.
So he had to be in the suit or he would die kind of thing.
Do Miles Morales Spider-Man. Like there are tons of ways that you can reboot the superhero stuff and make it feel fresh. But there's been so much of it, and it's by and large been very high quality. I'm not complaining, but there's been so much of it, and they are continuing to make it forever, basically, that I don't like. We won't get a reboot of this shit for like 20 years because they're going to continue making it for another decade,
right?
Until the rails completely fall off or the wheels completely fall off, which I don't see necessarily happening.
Right.
And that's kind of it. A lot of ups and downs this podcast, I thought. It is the difficulty of this podcast that we need to be relevant and talk about the stuff that is happening, and a lot of the stuff that happens just ends up being a bummer, and that sucks. Because like I want this to be entertaining, I want it to be escapism, not even just for the listeners, but also for us. Like I just want to have fun talking to you about stuff. I don't want to get too real, but sometimes we don't have a choice. But as always, we can end with something we don't hate, which is something that we need right now.
Yeah,
and both of ours were food.
Which I think is great.
Yeah. Go ahead.
In the darkest points in life,
there's
always turn to food.
Until they start blaming like bacon for mass shootings, and then we're fucked.
Oh man. Why'd you have to say it out loud? They're listening.
So I'll say that I don't hate Zaxby's blackened blue salad.
That sounds really good.
Is there Zaxby's in the north? I don't even remember.
No.
It's like I think it's just a southern chain. It's like a fast food, but it's high quality, and it's a blue cheese salad with blackened chicken.
Yeah.
It is absolutely phenomenal, and I bought it yesterday because I wanted to save it for lunch today, which is what I'm going to do immediately after finishing the podcast, and I am psyched.
Do you like a wedge salad?
Yes.
Oh, I love wedge salad. Holy
Wedge
crap.
salad is fantastic.
Oh,
A pain to
man.
eat. A pain to eat.
A little bit, yeah.
Cut it up for me. Put it in my mouth.
Where? I'm Shea, cut it up for me. Child.
Like, I'm paying for this. Don't make me do the work.
But I like the way it looks.
Totally.
It's like getting one of those giant Hershey Kisses. Like, you just get this giant thing of lettuce, and you're like, this is all going in my stomach.
I have a hard time thinking of two foods that are more different than a giant wedge of lettuce and a giant Hershey's Kiss.
Well, this is what we do here on the Shea Hates Everything podcast. We bring things together.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I don't hate hothead.
Burritos.
Yes. All right, I do like their burritos, but I also very much like their bowls.
Oh, but isn't that the name of the restaurant? Hothead Burritos?
Yeah, it might be Hothead Burrito. But it's like a Chipotle, but all the food is like more processed food. Like, it's not as like fresh from the farm.
And that's
so
like
here's
that's
the thing, 'cause
appealing.
I have Chipotle a lot, and
Right.
sometimes I
want
want
something
to eat. It is. It's the same, but it's different.
Sure, absolutely. Totally understand that. Just the pitch of like, it's like Chipotle, but worse, and it's really delicious.
Yeah, exactly. But like they have like all these different sauces and stuff that you can get that's really good.
They have a bunch of I remember the salsas.
One of my favorite things to do is like it's the start of a good bad week because every Sunday they have buy 2 bowls for it's like $10 or $11, and you get like a bowl and a burrito, or 2 bowls or 2 burritos, whatever it is. You get 2 entrees, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to get one with white rice and one with brown rice, both with black beans, one with spicy chicken, one with spicy steak, because their steak isn't like Chipotle steak where it's super chewy and stuff.
Yeah.
This is like more processed meat, so you can actually like chew through it and not choke and get fatty, gristly stuff. And then on both of them, I get the corn, onions, and then on the steak, I get their hothead sauce. On the chicken, I get their sweet habanero sauce. And then both have sour cream, both have extra cheese. It's so freaking good.
Minus the sour cream, that sounds delicious. I know I'm in the vast minority and not liking sour cream, but
like, the sour cream helps cut some of the spiciness a little bit, so you don't ever have to
unnecessary.
Like, feel like you have to take a drink. You can just like eat it like a vacuum cleaner all the way through.
Yeah.
Oh, it's good.
I was waiting for you to say that you just combine it all into one bowl.
No. Oh, I forgot jalapenos on both as well.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we have hothead down here.
That's something that Chipotle's missing, is just like being able to get jalapenos put on there. Of course,
you can ask for it.
If Chipotle did it, they're the fresh cut jalapenos.
Yes.
At Hothead, they're like the canned jalapeno thing, like you get on nachos at a ball game. Which I don't know what I prefer. I know Mom likes the fresh ones. I think I kind of prefer the canned jalapenos. Pickled jalapeno kind of thing. I think that's what I prefer.
I bet if you asked for jalapenos at a Chipotle, they would give you some.
I'm sure they would. Yeah, they have.
Because you can get just cilantro, or
right.
When I was working there, we had
lime juice.
They'll give you lime
citrus juice.
I had a regular that wanted just tomatoes. Like, they didn't like all the stuff that was in the pico, and so we always had, because like the way that we made it, it was a bag of the diced tomatoes, and then we mixed in all the other ingredients, and so we would just open a bag of the tomatoes and give them a scoop of that.
Yeah.
Chipotle, if you have a good Chipotle, they're pretty lax about that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they'll help you out, especially if you go at a time that's not like crazy busy, because like they're always worried about throughput because corporate sucks.
Right.
But yeah, if you get like a cool chill Chipotle, then they'll do good stuff for you. Like if you get hard tacos, you can ask for soft tacos, but spread guac on the soft tacos and then wrap it around the hard taco. So there's like a soft shell, a layer of guac around the hard shell, and then all the stuff inside the hard shell. Ooh, baby, it's good.
Sounds like something my wife would like.
It's very good. But you gotta ask them when it's not busy.
Oh, of course.
I would never ask them to do it. When I worked there, I'd make them for myself.
Right.
But
right. That was fun.
Yeah,
Coming
I have
up with your
asked
own
them
concoctions.
to do that once since I stopped working there, and it's just very good.
I don't think we have hothead down here, and now I'm sad because now I would like
not.
to try this because the bowl you just described sounds delicious. We have
It's
Moe's,
so good.
which sucks. Moe's is garbage. They do have cucumbers, which is very good,
Okay.
and their corn salsa is also good. But
There's
just their
also
burritos are not.
Qdobas up here. Do you have Qdobas down there?
I think I've seen one.
They're
it's fine. Their
like not
queso
as
is
good.
good.
They're not as good as Hothead.
Right. Yeah, I remember having a hothead up there occasionally before like Chipotle became big up there.
Right. And that's like the one thing that Qdoba has over both Hothead and Chipotle is their queso is really good. Because the Chipotle queso is just not very good.
Not a fan.
And Hothead doesn't have it. That I recall. Maybe they have added it. I don't know. I haven't had it though, so can't tell
I am
you.
very hungry now.
Me too.
So let's finish this podcast and then we can go eat lunch.
I hope all of our listeners are hungry with us.
Yeah, I hope you're not listening to this in like your Monday morning commute when you haven't had breakfast yet or you're going to be dying.
Yeah, I'm sorry this is going up on a Monday when you have to wait 6 days to go to a Hothead and get the 2 for $11 deal. But
hey, it's just advance notice.
yeah, and I think every
prepare your
Friday, I think it's like every Friday they do free cookies. You get like a free chocolate chip cookie with
Are they
you.
any good though?
Yeah, they're decent.
Because
No, they're not good. They're decent.
Right. If a cookie's not good, I don't care if it's free. I don't really want it. Like if it's like grainy.
It's like, have you had Subway cookies?
I don't like Subway cookies. That's what I was going to bring up as the example.
Okay.
Those
All
are
right.
grainy.
So they're like kind of like Subway cookies.
But Zaxby's has really good cookies, funnily
Okay.
enough. They have it's like a double chocolate chip cookie. It is a chocolate cookie with like green M&M kind of look to it. It's like a midnight whatever.
Okay.
Quite good. Very like melty in the middle.
Oh,
soft. Very good. Tons of different kinds of cookies, especially chocolate chip, can be good. Like I like a good like Chips Ahoy crunchy chocolate chip cookie. Those are still good. Where they're a little more powdery. They break apart. But in this context, like if I'm going to get like a big flat cookie, should be soft.
Oh yeah.
Subways are like gristly. Like you can feel it. It tastes like eating sand. It's gross.
Yeah. Number one thing I miss from my childhood is Mom's mushy cookies.
Oh hell yeah! Nicotine cookies.
Yeah. Man.
And those were just
LSD squares and nicotine cookies.
Yeah, man.
Call child services.
The nicotine cookies she just got from that like school,
it was
whatever.
yeah,
they were just
market
frozen.
day.
It was just frozen cookie dough. The only thing she did different was she
knew how
undercooked
to,
them.
Yeah, she knew how to cook it
Yeah.
the perfect time
They're so
to
melty.
where you could still get them off the pan.
Yes.
But they would like start to fall apart as you picked them up.
And not fall apart. They
like,
would
melt. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh man.
they were semi solid.
Yes. Ooh, boy.
Like ice cream texture.
Yeah. Oh. God.
Very, very good. We never came up with a good name for her peanut butter Rice Krispie squares with the chocolate on top.
Yeah.
Because we had the nicotine cookies, the LSD squares, which were the Fruity Pebble Rice Krispie treats, which are also amazing. But
We never
my
had
favorite.
a name. We never had a name for the no bakes either.
Well, that's what they're called. They're no bake cookies. The chocolate
Yeah.
peanut butter oatmeal. Those are also delicious. I am seeing Mom in a couple of weeks, and I am going to highly request that she make something and brings it to me because I want something now. I have to go eat. I'm dying. It's noon.
Yeah, me too.
I have to eat. This is the end of the podcast. Everybody go have a snack that is listening because you are probably hungry now.
And then go check out SheaHatesEverything.com.
Thank you. I was also going to say, and write us an email, info@sheahateseverything.com. Leave us a review on iTunes. Watch the YouTube version and leave a comment there. Like us on Facebook /SheaHatesEverything. Follow me on Twitter @Shea_Castle. Tweet at me. All the stuff. All the things. Engage.
Engage
in this podcast. Okay, bye. Thanks. Peace out.